appreciate you guys, and I really appreciate the support you've been giving on my latest videos, whether it's being subscribing or just stopping in and giving them some likes. So I just want to shout you guys out there. I just appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being able to do that. And today I'm going to be talking about the offensive line for the Rams, and something, in my opinion, I feel like is kind of I feel like a lot of people are hating on the offensive line, and they were thinking it's a lot worse than it is. So I'm going to be diving into that topic today. I want to know what your guys' thoughts, whether it be on the rewatch or live right now, what you think about this Rams offensive line, where it's going to rank, because when you bring in a guy like Stafford, you're going to need to have a good offensive line. And for a guy who has been injured in the past, and you want to make sure that you protect that guy. So I think that protecting Stafford is going to be a key thing, but not only that, it's just with any quarterback that you have, you're going to be able to have to protect whoever you have in the running game or in the passing game. So I'm going to be talking about this offensive line, which again I think is just hated on just quite a bit, and just want to get your thoughts on that. So before I get that out of the way, let me see who's in the house. We got Luke Boy 731. What's up? We got Jack and Jalen Ramsey in the house, and yeah, so I appreciate you guys all stepping in here today. Again, I want to know your thoughts on this offensive line. I think a lot of the problem is when people look at the offensive line is they see a lot of names who they haven't seen that much, and they see a lot of guys on the offensive line who they don't really recognize as household names, and they automatically think that they are not going to do well or they don't have the potential. And I'm going to tell you, I'm confident in this offensive line. Yeah, it's not going to be a number one ranked offensive line in my opinion, but I'm confident in what they can do going into the season. And I think why I'm so confident is because a lot of the guys that are going to be starting on this Rams offense is they're going to be a lot of guys who have been learning under guys like Roger Saffold and Andrew Whitworth, who's still amazingly playing at his age. They're learning under guys who have been doing it for a long time, but also know what they're doing at that position. So they've been groomed over these last couple of years. It's not like they're rookies being thrown out there who are taken in the 7th round. It's not any of that. The Rams have drafted over the last couple of years offensive line, and they've been able to learn under it. So I want to just kind of alleviate some of the pains or worries that you guys have about the offensive line. I think they're going to be good enough to step up. I think they're going to be in the top 10. Just looking at what a guy like Joseph Noteboom did when Andrew Whitworth went down, those are big shoes to fill, and he did a great job at doing it, and that's simply because of the way the Rams have been grooming him. Obviously, you still have to prove yourself going into those years that you really haven't played. You have to prove yourself to the team that you're good enough, but I think that Joseph Noteboom is a great example of that when Andrew Whitworth went out. So let me read into some of these comments. Not sure what you guys think about the offensive line. I think it's going to be fine, but again, that's one of the main things I think going to the season that is being downgraded quite a bit, that the Rams didn't take offensive linemen. And yeah, getting a guy like Creed Humphrey would really help. I think we have guys to step up this offensive line as long as we can protect Stafford, who's our guy now, and as long as we can protect that running game, because you need a good dose of running game to be able to assist you in the passing game. That's going to be crucial. I want to know what you guys think. Let me read into these comments. We got Detroit Lions talk with Micro Mike. What's going on in there? We got Jared in here. In case Matthew gets hurt, hope John could do a little bit better. Yep. Let's see. Just a lot of guys engaging in here, so don't want to go into that. Our current wide receiver is downgrade from last year for sure. That said, we are going to run a lot. Oh yeah, so Detroit Lions with Micro Mike is talking about that running game. I think a lot of guys are overlooking what Goff is going to do. I think they're kind of hating on him a little bit too much. Completely agree with you. That running game is going to be crucial, and I think a running game is crucial to any team's success, including the Rams. I think when you look at the Rams team and you look at what they're able to do with their offense and you really study what they're able to do, they love to marry the run game with the passing game, and furthermore, they like to use the emotions. That's one thing I noticed a lot of the times with the Rams and with McVay that he has picked up over these last few years, is that he loves to use pre-snap motions or even snap motions where right off the bat it's like eye candy for the defense. They're going to be having to look at multiple different people and motions, and then you have a guy like Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp who you can hit, or now speed guys like Deshaun Jackson and Tutu Atwell. And when you're able to marry that run game with the pass game, that helps you so much, and that's going to help Matthew Stafford, I think, a lot. Having more of a dynamic offense, sure, it's going to be harder to learn than in years past, but I don't know if you agree with me, Mike, in here. I feel like the Lions offense up to this point, we haven't seen what's going to look like with Dan Campbell, but I think it was one of those offenses that was not bland, but it was kind of a generic and predictable one to go off of, and that was largely in part due to the coach. I think Dan Campbell is going to evaluate and make a good offense in this system, but yeah, I think the Rams have such a dynamic offense that even sometimes with an offensive line who might not be up to the par as a lot of people would think, it's going to be hidden a lot because there's going to be defenses looking at those guys in motions. They're going to have to be paying attention to pretty much every guy on the field, and I think that's something that's really cool to see that the Rams do. They like to utilize every guy in the field sometimes in one play, whether it be two guys motion, one guy gets a fake handoff, and then everybody runs route. Whatever you would want to see out of this Rams offense, I think it's such a good way that they use all these different guys and all these different pieces in almost every single play, and that helps even if you don't have the best offensive line. But again, I would, for to target where I think this offensive line is going to be ranked this year, I think they're ranked like 3rd by PFF last year. I'm not sure though. I think I would put them at about 5th or 6th because again, when you're able to have all those different pieces running around, have some good players on this team like Stafford, like Akers, which I really think is going to have a great year this year. I think that you have so many playmakers on here that sometimes that can be hidden. Same you can say about the defense when you have guys like Jalen Ramsey or Aaron Donald or Leonard Floyd, whoever it may be, that our linebacker group wasn't the strongest last year, and there were a lot of guys that people didn't know the names of and didn't know how they would do, but because you have playmakers, you can hide it in a little ways, especially if you got a good coach at that position. So I think our offensive line is going to do well, especially because of all those things I mentioned. I think having those playmakers and having a guy in Sean McVay who's able to draw up plays that almost hide some deficiencies, which I don't think that offense has many deficiencies. I think a lot of people look towards that offensive line. Again, I got faith in them, but when you have a coach who's able to evaluate, okay, we aren't the best in this position, but I can make it look better by doing this, whatever you can do. But yeah, I think that because we've been able to groom these guys over the last few years, they're going to have success. And yeah, there's definitely going to be plays where they let up sacks. Every offensive line does. But I think it's one of those units on this Rams team that just kind of gets hated on a little too much. And a lot of the times it's because of people that you just don't clearly know on a team because you haven't seen them play. And I think that's a little bit unfair. But I think what we've been able to do these last few years is really going to show and how they're going to perform. Let's see. Crazy of a trade, QB for QB. Excited to see how Stafford does with LA. Oh yeah, for sure, man. I think I'm excited to see what Goff does with the Rams or with the Lions. So used to saying with the Rams. I think that's one of those things that I hope that Goff does well with you guys, and I think he can, especially with, as I've been saying in your comments on the videos, I think with the type of scheme that Dan Campbell is developing, that's going to fit Jared Goff just a bit better, and so I'm going to be excited what he's doing, and I think a lot of people, I don't know why they do this, but they want Goff to do bad, almost to prove something. I'm not one of those people. I'm excited to see what Stafford does for sure, more than to see what Goff does, but I'm hoping Goff succeeds. And again, I think what they're doing with the offensive line, building it up like you guys are in Detroit, that's going to help. And I think this offensive line that we have right now on the Rams that has been groomed and even has a veteran in Andrew Whitworth who seems to be able to play till he's 100 years old, that's going to help in the development even more. Let's see, we got Jalen Ramsey. I wish we actually had Jalen Ramsey in the house. He says, Rams house, who do you think will be the Rams' backup quarterback this season? John Wolford all the way. And I like John Wolford a lot too. I think one of the things, I've mentioned this on the stream before, one of the things that I like so much about Wolford is that he practices and trains and prepares every week like he's a starting caliber quarterback, or even more so than that. And I think that is something that's really admirable to me to see. And I was excited when Wolford was in those 2 games, definitely. And so I think Wolford's our backup, and his work ethic is amazing. I think if Stafford were to go down in any of these next few years, because I think the Rams are planning on keeping him, I think if he was going to go down, I think Wolford, I'd be definitely excited to see what he could do. Not saying I want Stafford to get injured, because obviously I think Stafford can win a Super Bowl, but Wolford I think is definitely our backup. Bobby Evans is the only guy I'm questioning. Doesn't mean he'll be bad. Oh yeah, Will, I agree with you, and that's the thing. So many people attack the offensive line and say like, "Oh man, he's trash," or "This guy's trash," because they haven't seen what he's been able to do, or they don't recognize the name, or let's say there was one bad game or two bad games, or they ended on a bad foot at the end of the season, then they call him bad. And yeah, I think that unknown is not the worst thing. I think you want to see what he can do, but I agree with you. That balance of just, okay, you don't know what they're going to do, but it doesn't mean that they're bad. I think our Lions fan we got in here, I think he can agree, because Jared Goff ended on such a bad foot with the Rams and he was kind of trending towards a bad direction. So many people are thinking he's like a third or fourth string quarterback, but that's not the case. I think it's too stereotypical sometimes. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Bobby Evans I have questions about, but again, since he's been able to be groomed for a couple of years, I'm just excited to see what he can do in this team. I love the offensive line, but Andrew Whitworth is 39. He's the best offensive lineman. Oh yeah, and just because he's 39 and he's the best offensive lineman on the team, doesn't mean our offensive line is bad. It just shows how good Andrew Whitworth is. Like, every year I expect him to retire, and I think even the Rams organization does, but he seems to keep playing, and as long as he's playing up to par and the Rams like him, I'm always happy about it. And being that you have a 39-year-old left tackle who plays on the team, a lot of people think like, oh, your offensive line is that bad, but no, it's just Andrew Whitworth is that good. What's up, Payo Time? How you doing? Let's see. Jalen Ramsey asks, Rams House, who do you think Matthew Stafford's favorite target will be? Okay, I want to open this one up to you, Mike. I'm just going to call you our Lions fan in here. I don't know if you know our receiving core that well. I think this is a good question to ask to the whole audience. Who is going to be Stafford's number one target? And I'm leaning towards what you're saying, Mike, with Cooper Kupp, definitely because that route running in his hands. And I think what I've seen in the offseason with Stafford and Kupp when they've been in OTAs, I'm seeing the most highlights from them. I think Stafford is going to be able to trust that guy so much. It's really hard because Robert Woods is one of my favorite guys to see, and he's just so good at a bunch of different things. I think Robert Woods is a guy that you look at like, okay, nobody's open. Oh, there's Woods, you know. But I would agree with you, Mike. I think that Cooper Kupp for sure. Mike says Stafford, the king of the comebacks, the guy who had 80 yards in 16 seconds. Oh yeah, I see. This is the thing I'm wondering. Like, a lot of Lions fans, I feel like, are split on Matthew Stafford going to the Rams. I see a lot of them who are excited about him and like they follow him to the Rams, which just shows how good of a player he is. But I've been getting some comments lately saying like, what do you mean comeback king, or like great at comebacks? He's only done this or he's done that. I feel like I tune that out because I'm like, I think Stafford is really good at comebacks, and I think, yeah, like you mentioned, that many yards and that many seconds, that excites me. Like, I don't want to be down by however many points or have the last possession or whatever, because that's just not what the Rams do a lot. But he's a guy that I would definitely be excited just to watch that. Let's see. Rams House, do you think that Bobby Brown will be better than Michael Brockers and Morgan Fox? That's tough to tell. I think he's a kind of like a project guy who we're going to be developing over these next couple of years for sure. And it's tough to tell. I think one thing I really liked about Michael Brockers and the Rams liked about Michael Brockers is that he was such an amazing leader and he set the tone. And even in like the interviews and the press conferences, the people who were interviewing just loved his personality, his energy. So that guy, who his leadership is irreplaceable. We'll see how the production goes. I think Bobby Brown's going to be very similar to what Michael Brockers did. Not sure how to compare him yet because I want to see how he does in the system, how he gels, and how much he's put in. So, great question, but not sure because I haven't seen much out of him yet. Our Lions fan Mike says, Goff killing it in camp right now, shocking many Lions fans. Oh yeah, and I think, like I mentioned to you earlier, I think Goff is one of those guys who, when he has a chip on his shoulder, he can ball out. He plays amazing, and he loves to prove people wrong. He's said that many times in the Rams press conferences. He loves to prove everybody wrong, and that does not shock me that he's doing that in training camp. Because, again, I think it's still stereotypical what Goff is doing with us, that he's a bad quarterback. That does not shock me that he's balling out, and I'm happy for you guys. Let's see. Payo Time says, from our question earlier about who will be the number one target for Stafford, I think it will be Woods. Yeah, it's really tough to get the two. I think Cooper Kupp is just one of those guys that you can trust. Like, okay, the play's broken. I need to throw it up because of whatever situation. I think he would go to Kupp too, especially with that chemistry that he's doing. He's getting down. Luke Boy says Tutu Atwell. I mean, I don't think he'll get too much playing time this year, but we'll see. Let's see. Our O-line is decent, but not what it wasn't 3 years ago. I miss Stafford and Sullivan. Oh yeah, I definitely think it's not up to par with what it was 3 years ago. That was such an amazing offensive line. I think that's also a reason for sure, like a healthy Todd Gurley, but I think that was another reason why Goff did so well with us those years ago in that Super Bowl run was because of that offensive line. So building that for him in Detroit is the right thing to do. Kupp and Woods will do great, but I think that Woods has a better year. Yeah, it's just gonna. I think that's gonna be so fun. I don't really play fantasy or do fantasy at all, but I think that's gonna be a great debate about to see how much people put in Kupp rather than Woods. Like it's gonna be interesting to see. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey. I'm not forgetting about Deshaun Jackson at all. I think he's gonna do some amazing things with us. Robert Woods will end up being the number one because he knows how to get open more than Kupp. I mean, that's debatable. I love Robert Woods for sure because of all the skill traits, and he does so many different things in the offense. Again, no one thing he's good at. I think he can do it all, which is what makes him so special. But I might argue that Cooper Kupp has the better route running, but, I'll take both of them. I'm glad they're both on our team. Let's see. Detroit Lions Talk with Micro Mike says, the fan base is 50-50. You guys will never be out of the game. Oh, yeah. That's kind of weird. I don't know why fans really like to hate on a player when they leave, even if they've done great things, because I think you can agree with me, Mike, that Stafford has done great things with you. And, yeah, he never won a playoff game. That's definitely a big deal. But I don't want to insult you, but I think that was just because of the team in some cases. Yeah, some cases maybe it was his fault. But I think at this point in his career, I think he's good enough to at least go to a Super Bowl. That's what I'm hoping for. But again, I don't know why fans hate on him. And I think with this offensive line that we're building up, again, I'm confident in what they can do just because they've been groomed. And then I think this isn't being talked about enough in my opinion, I think giving him a new coach who I think is better than Matt Patricia. I think all other guys are better than Matt Patricia. But giving him that in a running game and a defense is going to really help too. When Dante Fowler was on the Rams, he had a lot of pass rushes or success. Then when he left the Rams, the production disappeared. So with Leonard Floyd, do you think his pass rush production with the Rams is legit? Oh yeah, for sure. I think he's even more of the complete player than Dante Fowler was. I think Fowler, yeah, he did great with the pressures and in the QB pass rush, but I think Floyd is a lot better in the run defense, and that's what we're gonna need for sure. The Rams had one of the best offensive lines last year. Yeah, and that's what I don't get. I think a lot of the times people do look at what the Rams offensive line looked like in 2018, the year after the Super Bowl loss. That year was really rough for our offensive line, and I think that's where it all started, where it's a bad offensive line because we really didn't bring in like superstar names or household names. People, I think, can think that it's just going to continue to be bad like it was in 2018, but that's what I don't get. I think the Rams' offensive line was top 3 last year, and being that we had a lot of run success, I think that kind of reflects it too. Let's see. Jalen Ramsey says, Rams house, do you think Van Jefferson has a decent year next season? Oh yeah, I think he has more than a decent year. I think also Stafford brings an element that Goff really didn't. It's not on Goff, but I think that Stafford just improves the stats of all the players just because of his arm talent and what he can do. Sure, there's going to be interceptions here and there, but I think that Van Jefferson and everybody else is going to have a boost. So thank you so much for that question. Let's see. Isn't it weird when people say Aaron Donald is bad when he has 13.5 sacks? Was second in sacks in 2020 season. Well, Luke Boy 731. Not sure if you're a Rams fan or not. I appreciate you whether you are or not coming into this stream and these videos. You always comment, but I think that a lot of people who don't watch the Rams, they look generically at the numbers of what Aaron Donald does. but I'm glad that you got the Defensive Player of the Year because it's harder to get pressure on the inside. And another thing is Donald's affecting the play like 80% of the time in a whole game. And that speaks volumes. And whether you're getting the stats or not, he's also helping the people around him. So I don't think that the sacks and the numbers matter. I think it's just been a thing where people start to triple team him now. And really, again, generating pressure from the inside is really hard. So I think it makes sense why he's being called there. Let's see. I defended Goff all the way up until he was traded and was a shock. I hope he kills it in Detroit. Oh, yeah, and I think he will. I think he's going to be the right quarterback for that system, for sure. They're building up an offensive line with getting Penei Sewell. That was an amazing pick. I'm surprised the Bengals didn't pick him, but that was an amazing pick. I think building up the offensive line, a strong running game. I do think that they need to get more playmakers at the receiver position because I don't think they have that really established right now. But yeah, I was a Goff supporter too. There were definitely games for me where I wanted to rip my hair out because of what he was or wasn't doing. The Jets game comes to mind, 49ers games come to mind. But I think that overall, I was not any of the haters. I was not along with that. And when he was traded, I was shocked too. But I've really grown to like the trade. And I'm happy that the Lions are building up for him too. Let's see. Play those. A lot of people engaging here. The line had some bad games last year, but they generally played well. Oh yeah, they had some bad games. I think even that Packers game wasn't their best game either, that divisional round game. But I think that the offensive line, again, one of you guys is gonna have to look this up for me. I think they ranked third by PFF. I think PFF ranked them third, but also keep into account that PFF ranked Rob Rhodes and Cooper Kupp at 29th and 30th. Like, what are they doing? What are they doing? But yeah, I think that they were ranked third, and I think top 10 is still definitely in the ballpark for the Rams offensive line. I don't think they slip out of that. Let's see, Donald, Ernest Jones, Floyd, BB2, and Ogbo. Oh yeah, I think we're going to have to see what Ogbo does. I am, again, really excited for Chris Garrett. I think he's going to be a premier pass rusher. I think he's going to have to develop a little bit more, but that speed rush is just a thing of beauty. Will says, are you buying into the Jacob Harris hype, or are you more like those early to get excited, it's just OTAs? Oh yeah, I think I'm excited to an extent. I think when I look at this whole receiving group, it's hard to find a spot, at least right now, where he fits in. But I go back and forth with this to myself too. Like, okay, he's doing really well. McVay's raving about him, and he is. Sometimes there being comparisons about Megatron 2.0. I'm excited for Jacob Harris, and yeah, it is early. It's OTAs. I think I'm really excited to see when the pads get on, not to just show that he proves it. I think I'm really excited to see what he can do, but we will see what he does. Again, Sean McVay raved about him about Van Jefferson last year, hyped him up pretty much the whole season, but he didn't end up getting a ton of snaps. We will see what McVay does with Jacob Harris this year, but yeah, I think that I'm overall excited about it, but we'll see. Jalen Ramsey says, love your streams, bro. I appreciate it. Okay, by the way, I'm a Rams fan, and sorry for the weird question. Oh no, you're all good, Luke Boy 731. There's no weird questions. You guys can still ask about the Rams. I don't care. There's no stupid questions here. Vivek Shaw says Fuller and Rochelle and Long. I think that at the quarterback spot we'll have Ramsey, Darius Williams, and Rochelle. I think Rochelle wins out that job. What's up, Shot by Nolan? How you doing? Last Stand Prince says the Rams O-line ranked great last year. What concerned me was the lack of passes to the running backs, which requires time for the for the play to develop. Oh yeah, they ranked really well, and I think, again, like I was talking about earlier in the stream, I think what is so good about McVay's scheme is that he involves people in every play, really, and he's so good at doing that, where he has so many different players running around at once, and kind of like eye candy, like I mentioned earlier, for the defense, that the offensive line sometimes people can be so confused about what's going on that it gives them more time. So I don't think that the line is a deficiency in the offense. they did rank high there, and we'll see what he does, they do this year. I'm overall really high about what this offensive line can do. I do think it's our weakest spot on the offense, but that's only because all our other positions have depth, and they've been proven. And I think that for the offensive line, again, they've been groomed, and their talents, I think, that are going to be on display this year. Let's see. Do you think Jacob Harris will be better at wide receiver for a touchdown? I think that we'll at least see 1 or 2 Jacob Harris touchdowns this year. And I think the main reason for that is because, I was bringing this up earlier, I think in Payo Time stream, that with Jacob Harris and the Rams last year specifically, their goal line since Todd Gurley left, or their red zone, was really weak last year. And I think that when Gurley left, you didn't really have that pound it type of mentality where you definitely could just trust him to take it in. I think that was kind of a fluke year, but it was also just a year that was just kind of iffy in the red zone. And I think Jacob Harris can provide that, where you can trust him. You have Stafford who can trust it to throw it up. I could see him in fades. He's definitely the guy to jump ball and get it. And yeah, I could definitely see some touchdowns out of him this year. Elmo DeMarshmallow, another Lions fan we got in here. Protect Stafford, let him take shots, and you're getting a 5K season. I completely agree with you. I think also to get 5K seasons, obviously we got the wide receivers, we've got a running game, which is really going to help set up the passing game. We've got the coach, we've got the defense. I think as long as you're able to protect long enough, it doesn't matter what weapons you have. If you have a bad offensive line, you're not going to be able to get a 5K passer. That's going to be hard. And it's going to be hard to get any offense going. But to get a 5K passer, the offensive line needs to be up to par, and I think it's going to be. But I completely agree with you. Thank you for stopping in here at Elmo DeMarshmallow. Let's see. Dude, you're a young lad. I've been a Rams fan for 50 years. I see doing huge playoff run. Oh yeah, definitely. I've been a Rams fan my whole life, but I'm always impressed and excited when I see Rams fans who have been fans for over 50 years, 60 years. People, I think, that are so fun to me is that when they just stay with the Rams. I've stayed with the Rams my whole life through the ups and downs. So kudos to you for staying for 50 years. I'm planning on doing the same thing. Rams fan for life for sure. Yeah, I think he means the Super Bowl run. What player on the Rams concerns you the most? I mean, it's a good roster. Oh yeah, that's a good question there, Payo Time. Let me think. I think, like somebody was bringing up earlier, a person on the offensive line, Brian Allen, he could concern me, I guess. Let me think. It's kind of hard to pick out one. I would say Troy Reader, that linebacker group. I think Reader stepped it up, but it's hard to tell. But my number one might be David Long. I think he's that Rochelle. I've mentioned this before. No, I'm not hating on Long, but I think that I feel like there might be some plays early in the season when he's getting the start, because he is getting the start week 1, and in these first few weeks. I think that David Long is one that concerns me. I think he could give up some plays. We've seen it before. But again, maybe more reps that could help him, and maybe he'll do better. I could be wrong, but I think that's a good question. I think David Long is it. What about you, Payo Time? What do you think? Let's see. Our problem with the red zone is fixed. Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. There's so many things that we added to this offense that I think we're going to have so much more success. Let's see. I don't think that Stafford sucks at all. I mean, you can say your opinions, but we'll see come September time. That's what I keep saying to people who are like, Stafford isn't good. Stafford won't do well with you. I mean, I have my opinion. You have your opinion for sure. We'll see come September. You think Darius Williams is going in the off season? Oh yeah, that's a good question there, Jalen Ramsey. I think that if I've been saying this, I think pretty much all offseason since he's signed that tender. I think if Darius Williams built off of what he did last year, or even plays to the same that he did last year, getting those interceptions, becoming more of a household name, I think he's going to want a bigger contract, and I'm not sure if the Rams will be willing to give him that just because they're cap casualties and, wanting to pay players who are like bigger impact players for the future. So if he balls out again, I could definitely see him getting a big contract with another team, but it would definitely hurt my heart. Oh, Stafford concerns you, Bob. Oh yeah, what concerns you about him? I think a lot of people say the playoff losses where he hasn't had a win, or injuries. I think injuries, those are unpredictable, but I think that playoff thing is kind of overused. I don't think that speaks volumes because he was on the Lions, and the Lions, yeah, at some points had some really amazing players on it, no doubt, but I think that playoff example is not the best example, I guess. All right, Last Name Prince says, do you think Harris and Ramsey are good in practice matchup for preparing the physical cornerbacks and wide receivers like Metcalf? That's an amazing question. I think that's actually a good idea. And one thing to keep in mind for you guys is that Jacob Harris is practicing with the number one guys. And what I mean by that is usually the rookies go off with the second string guys, like John Wolford, who's a backup quarterback, or Bryson Hopkins, who's the backup tight end. He's playing with the number one guys, and that speaks volumes. I think Jacob Harris and Jalen Ramsey matchup is a really good thing to do because it gets better for the physical matchups, like you said, and you really get to see iron on iron sharpening each other. So, yeah, I'm all for that. Paleo Time says Allen and Evans are my concerns. Those are some legitimate ones for sure. Nolan says 30K fans showing out for the practice. I don't want to hear no more about Rams don't have fans. Exactly. There you go, Nolan. And to think that's an open practice. It's not even a game yet. So I think we definitely have more fans than Chargers fans. Don't want to bring it up, Chargers fans, if you got any in here, but yeah, exactly. We have fans, and if I were in SoCal, if I were in California, anywhere, there would be no concern in my mind. I would be going to SoFi Stadium. I still haven't gone there, but again, I live in Colorado, so I would go there if I could, but I live in Colorado, so it's kind of hard. You won't see it in September. You'll see it in the first big game where Stafford chokes a game away. I mean, we'll see, Doug, again. We will see it in September. If you think about it, we do have I think it's a week 2 or week 3. I don't know. But early in the season, we play the Buccaneers. We play some of our divisional games. We play the Colts, who is a really physical team. So we'll see if he chokes. We'll see. I mean, again, we got our own opinions. We'll see come that time. Elmo DeMarshmallow says Stafford is a top 10 QB talent, top 20 player. That's how I can put if we base it off of wins. Oh yeah, for sure. I think he has all the talent in the world. I think this pairing with Sean McVay and the Rams is going to work out. It's going to be one of the biggest trades. Again, I got my opinion. I know some other people in here really, they have their opinion, but we'll see. Let's see. Stafford is a better wide receiver than quarterback. That's funny. Remember when Rapp locked up Jared Cook? Was Rapp around when Jared Cook was on our team? I mean, he could have been. I don't know. Let's see. $30 million in dead cap will be gone next off season, so it's a good chance that they can pick up D. Will. Oh yeah, that's a good point. The cap's going to be also going up and increasing for the NFL too, so that's going to definitely help. Good point there, Nolan. Okay, yo, you kidding me? I'm Elmo, my friend. I wanted to make. Okay, gosh. I just didn't make sense. Sorry. I was trying to say, if you will be good at deep catches at the position wide receiver inside the end zone. Oh yeah, you're all good, man. Yeah, Nolan. You don't live in SoCal. You'd be at the open practice. I think to me the thing that's so tempting about their open practice is that it's free and it's a chance to get to see SoFi Stadium for free and watch the Rams players in person for free. I mean, that's so tempting, but again, getting a plane ticket, going all the way there just for a practice, not sure. So I didn't do that. Let's see. Rams house, we should go to a Rams game one day. I know you don't know me, but I'll be there I'll be here in all your streams. Oh yeah, Jalen Ramsey, that would be fun too. I know that one game I'm for sure going to is the Broncos versus Rams preseason game, because that's in Colorado. Top 5, you think? But yeah, just wrapping up the stream here, guys. What do you think of this offensive line? I want to know your comments, your thoughts on what you think. Where do you think this offensive line will rank among the 32 teams? I'm personally pegging them around 7th or 6th. And to give you a gauge, PFF ranked them in 3rd last year. So yeah, I do think a tiny bit of a drop off, but the Rams are so good at grooming players and at being able to kind of hide their deficiencies in their offense because of all the players they got. Let's see. Last name Prince, who do you think will be the backup QB? John Wolford for sure. Jalen Ramsey says our offensive line will be ranked 5th. I'd take that all day. I mean, I'm pegging them at 7, so definitely would take 5th. LukeBoy731 says, when will you be live again? Not quite sure on that, but I can guarantee to all of you guys in here, I don't know if you saw this, but I'm going to be collaborating with Rams Talk on Saturday. That video will be out on both our channels, so make sure to sub to Rams Talk if you haven't. And then Jake Ellenbogen, I think in the next week, it could be tomorrow, we'll see. Not sure when I'm going to stream again because those collaborations are coming up for sure. But yeah, great question there. But yeah, I think our offensive line will rank probably around 7th, maybe 6th. I wouldn't be surprised if we ranked 4th either. I think this offensive line has come so far, and the players will really show how much they've learned with being able to groom under great players like John Sullivan, Roger Saffold, Andrew Whitworth, who's still there. And I think our offensive line coach is actually really good. And again, it's just a lot of people look at the 2019 year and they keep thinking that's going to happen over and over again. I don't think that personally, but we'll see. How about our defensive rank? That's a great question there, Jalen Ramsey. I'm sure with you being Jalen Ramsey, you should know this, but no, just kidding. I think our defense is going to rank 4th. I think that's where I put him, 4th or 3rd. It's hard to repeat with 1st, but, we'll see. I think we just got so much talent there. What's up, McCoy Williams? Just wrapping up the stream. What's going on? You think our defense will be ranked 3rd? Yeah, I could definitely see that too. And again, with players like Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald and Leonard Floyd, that's going to help. And I think Raheem Morris is going to do great things. Kevin Carberry taking over as O-line coach. We may be pleasantly surprised. Yeah, and that's why I was surprised we did not take, what's his name, Creed Humphrey, because he went to Stanford where Kevin Carberry was, and so I was really surprised we didn't take him. But again, that just shows how confident the Rams are in these guys that have been groomed over the last few years. I'm excited to see what Kevin Carberry does for sure. But again, guys, I appreciate all of you for stopping into the stream and just engaging and having a really fun stream. If you guys want to watch the rewatch, it'll be up. And again, collaborating with Rams Talk Saturday and Jake Ellenbogen either tomorrow or next week. So we'll see when that happens. But again, horns up, God bless, and you guys are the best, and have an amazing